Hey guys, Xaryu here, and today I want to cover some of the World of Warcraft class changes that we've seen in PvP today. I'm a little scared and a little nervous about some of these changes. Some of them seem like knee-jerk reactions, and some of these changes were like, okay, we knew where this was going to happen. Let's see exactly how much they wanted to nerf or buff this specific thing. So let's jump into it. Here it is, PvP Hotfixes September 6th. Very, very excited that Blizzard's taking action this early, but some of this stuff might have been a little overboard. All right. But first things first, right at the start here, we applied a hotfix earlier today that affected a number of specs PvP. Listed below, in a future hotfix, we're going to be addressing other overperforming specs such as BM Hunters, Discipline Priest, and Arms Warriors. When I played Arena all of yesterday, guys, the two most OP things that I saw were BM Hunters and Arms Warriors, maybe some Shaman specs, and then probably Mages also, and maybe Rogues as well. So maybe Mage, Rogue, Priest, Hunter, Warrior, Shaman were like the overperforming classes. So we have some nerfs here, those classes that I just mentioned, and future overperforming specs, BM Hunters, Disc Priests, and Arms Warriors, are also going to be getting some nerfs. So cool. First of all, I'm happy that Blizzard's addressing it so fast instead of making us wait a week or 2 weeks or hopefully not like a month of these crazy OP specs. But let's jump into it. Player versus player, healer specialization mana reduced by 30% when engaged in combat with enemy players. Most healers were just not going out of mana. Okay, so this is a good change, I think, to kind of pick up the pace of the game. If one healer is going, cool, we're going to have to end the game sooner, play a little bit more aggressive. I like this change. I think it's a great change. I think mana should matter more. However, I think some healers, like Discipline Priest, actually go pretty fast compared to a Resto Druid who just never go So I think this change is good across the board, but we might need to see some classes also buffed and nerfed specifically to their class, right? So Disc Priest might need a mana buff, whereas Resto Druids might need another mana nerf. So I like the change, but it might need a little more, to be a little more specific, rather. And now we have Mage Arcane, all right? I've been saying that Arcane does need a nerf, and I play a mage, and I'm saying that Arcane needs a nerf, all right? So that's when you really know Arcane needs a nerf. We got the nerfs we were expecting. All right, so don't go too crazy here. Let's break it down. Overpowered causes arcane power to increase damage by 40%, down from 60%. Okay, I don't even play with overpowered. I think it's a little too gimmicky of a talent. I'm still not going to play with overpowered. And I was expecting this nerf to be in the game already because it was in the game last expansion. They did the same thing with overpowered last expansion. So cool. I thought this was already in, and I don't want to play with overpowered. I like Arcane Aura much better. Don't think it's a good talent anyway, and they nerfed it, so awesome. Cool. One out of the way. Whew! Take a deep breath. Let's keep on moving. Mana Shield now drains 150% of damage taken as mana, with damage by enemy players and pets up from 50. Guys, yes! Okay, so I'm a mage, and I'm so excited. Okay? I'm so excited that this is in the game. Mana Shield was so OP that if you just spam Mana Shield over and over, you couldn't die. And you wouldn't go out of mana. So they finally nerfed it. So 150, I mean, you should go pretty fast now with Mana Shield. Alright, so that was a great change. I'm really glad Mana Shield got nerfed, even though it's my own class. I don't think that your global should be Mana Shield, Mana Shield, Mana Shield, Mana Shield, Mana Shield, Mana Shield, Spell Steal, Mana Shield, Mana... Like, that's just boring, overpowered and boring. It's not fun to play against, and it's not fun to play as. I've been asking for this to get nerfed since I first saw it, like, months ago. There's the nerf. I'm happy about it, all right? Happy about a nerf. Look at that. 2018 is the year. What's going on? Mana Shield nerfs. Let's get it. All right. So I don't mind this at all. Don't mind this at all. Let's keep moving. So Shimmer is probably going to be the play most of the time. Mana Shield could still maybe be good in 1v1 situations. Now, we have Rune of Power. Increases spell damage by 30% when engaged in combat with enemy players, down from 40. Cool. Didn't use Rune of Power anyway. Didn't plan on using it. think this is probably a good nerf. Probably a good nerf. Now in Canner, so all three still don't care about. All three, great. Okay. Incanter's Flow increases damage up to 15% when engaged in combat with enemy players, down from 20. Okay. If you guys don't know how Incanter's Flow works, it increases your spell power up to 20, down to 5. Up to 20, down to 5, I believe is how it works. So now it's going to be from 5 to 15, 5 to 15. All right, so Incanter's Flow increases damage up to 15% when engaged in combat with enemy players, down from 20%. Now, I'm not sure about this specific change. Maybe they felt that Incanter's Flow was doing a little bit too much damage on average. Normally, Incanter's Flow goes from 5% to 20%, back down to 5, back up to 20, I believe. Now, Incanter's Flow is going to go from 5 to 15, up and down. Okay, it's going to be a little bit worse on average. I don't know if I like this change. Maybe it was needed. Maybe Arcane was doing a little bit too much damage on average. I really like these changes. I don't know about the Incanter's Flow nerf. We'll have to see kind of how it feels and operates. I don't think it's that much worse, really, because a lot of the times when you're bursting, you don't have a 20% Incanters anyway, so it's not like that big of a deal. I think Incanter's Flow is still going to be the best option in that row, however. So, interesting. And it is just a nerf for Arcane, though. They're not nerfing Incanter's Flow for Frost or Fire, it looks like. So, yeah, very interesting. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of the change, but we'll have to see how it plays out. Arcane Pressure. All right, boys. This is the trait that I've said has needed nerfs for a while now. I didn't know how they were going to nerf it. And I was like predicting weeks ago that I was like, I hope they don't nerf it too much to where it's not good. They reduced it by 50% when engaged in combat with enemy players. 50%. I don't know if this trait is good anymore. I don't know if this trait is good anymore. And then a lot of you guys might be like, okay, if it's not good, then what do we play instead? Galvanizing Spark is what we'd want to play instead. And this also got reduced by 25% when engaged in combat with enemy players. So I don't know, man. We might have to go back to the drawing board on this one. The Arcane Missile trait might be the best now. I don't know. I really don't know as far as Arcane Traits, guys. I'll be making an updated Arcane guide once all these kind of changes settle in a little bit, and I'll be telling you guys what I've been using and what I suggest you guys use. But in the meantime, I'm gonna test out Arcane Pressure when I log in today. I'm gonna test out Arcane Pressure damage. I'm gonna maybe try Galvanizing Spark damage, and then I might try some Arcane Missile damage, and kind of go from there. And then maybe could even try traits like Dagger in the Back or Razan's Fury, and maybe try to pair that with Arcane and see how that feels. But for now, it's kind of up in the air. Arcane Pressure Execute still could be okay, but it's only gonna give you an extra maybe like 8,000 or 9,000 damage on your executes instead of an extra like 20,000 or 18,000, 19,000, something like that. So Arcane Pressure is definitely a lot weaker. So there are the Arcane Mage changes. First three, don't care about too much at all. I actually think they're good. Second three are very concerning. And I guess Incanters isn't that concerning, but Arcane Pressure nerf. And then the thing that we would want to swap to also got nerfed. So these are a little bit scary. But needed. All right, I'm a mage, and I'm saying these are needed. Guys, Arcane was ridiculous. So I'm pretty happy with them. Now, Frost Mages also got nerfed. So Glacial Spike damage reduced by 20% when attacking enemy players. I think this was good. It kind of can, like, Glacial Spike wasn't that good in Arena, and then they nerfed it by 20%. No one was really using it, and now it's nerfed by 20%. So now I really don't think anyone's going to use it. I do like the nerf, though, and this is why. If you use Glacial Spike to one-shot someone, and it hits for, like, 65k, it doesn't feel good for them. Like, they're just like, what? Like, that's lame. So they're nerfing, like, the top end, like, how much damage it's going to be doing out of nowhere, even if it's not a good talent. It's almost the same as Rune of Power, right? Rune of Power wasn't good. No one was using Rune of Power, really. But they nerfed it because if you did use it and you stacked it with Overpower, then you one-shot someone. And that one-shot doesn't feel good. It's just like, wait, what? Like, I just died in one hit. But it wasn't, like, good as in you couldn't consistently get that off. It's the same exact thing with Glacial. Glacial wasn't good because you couldn't consistently get the Glacials off because you would get stopped a lot. But if you did, you would one-shot someone, then that didn't feel good either. So they're nerfing these things that were over the top, even though people weren't really using them. So I like it. I actually like the Glacial Spike change. I almost wish they would just change how the talent worked a little bit too, but that might be a whole other video. But Rheya Frost also got nerfed 15%. This was probably not needed. I don't think. Rheya Frost did not feel like it did a ton of damage. It was more just to, if someone's running around a pillar, you'd start channeling the Ray, so it would follow them. You don't really use Ray too much when bursting anyway as a mage. You'd rather just Orb, Comet Storm, Ice Nova, Ice Lance. But really, I was expecting a Comet Storm nerf, actually. Not a Rheya Frost nerf. Or I wasn't really expecting the Glacial, but that's fine. I was really not expecting the Rheya Frost nerf. It's also fine. I don't care that much about the Rheya Frost nerf because you don't use it while bursting. It doesn't matter that much. It's really just for the slow to get the fingers and to continue damage while someone's running, not as much as I care about how much damage this ability is doing. So, whatever. I still think Rheya Frost is probably going to be the pick in this row. Not so much because Rheya Frost is good in itself, but more because you get to keep your icicles that you lose if you go Glacial Spike, right? So, Rheya Frost is still probably the play. Now, Concentrated Coolness got nerfed from 30% increased damage to 10% increased damage. Now, this takes me by surprise. All right, I was for sure expecting a Comet Storm nerf, but definitely like an Orb nerf feels weird here. I'm trying to think if there's a build that you don't use Concentrated Coolness now, because 10% damage is almost nothing, but I think it's still going to be chosen, and here's why. Concentrated Coolness allows you to place your Orb, which nowadays, with an RMP setup or anything that you're playing with a mage, placing an Orb is almost like necessary. So you getting 10% damage and being able to place it, I think is still worth that talent choice, even though it's barely any increased damage. So yeah, I think Orb is actually, Concentrated Coolness is still going to be good despite the nerf. It does feel a little bit weird. So those are the Frost Mage nerfs. Little awkward nerfs. I'm not exactly sure why they thought these changes specifically were necessary. I don't mind a lot of them, but I would have probably nerfed them in a different way myself. But there it is. Frost Mages are still going to be good. For the record, I think Arcane Mage is still going to be fine. We're just going to have to kind of figure out a new play style. A new play style is going to have to be developed with these Arcane Pressure nerfs. Scrolling down here, all right, we have Monk nerfs. Meridian Strikes effectiveness reduced by 60% when engaged in combat with enemy players. Meridian Strikes was the Touch of Death trait, all right? And this was doing a ton of damage to enemy players, guys. It was doing like 60 to 80k Touch of Deaths, just one-shotting people. So reducing this by 60% is 100% needed. We were expecting this. We knew this was coming in, and there it is. Actually, it did get nerfed by quite a bit. I think it still could be okay, because it's still going to hit for, what, like 30k? Which is, it's funny, I was streaming last night, and I was like, I think Touch of Death should hit for, like, 30k, not for, like, 80k. And then after these nerfs, that's might be what it actually is. So, cool. I'm glad that got nerfed. That's really, 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 really good. We expected that, right? Another expected change here, Sharpened Blades. Effectiveness reduced by 65% when engaged. It says when engaged. Okay, thought I was going crazy. In combat with enemy players. This was also expected. All right, Sharpened Blades was absolutely one-shotting people. It was doing, I think I got hit by a 90k Shuriken Toss yesterday. 90k Shuriken Toss, so this is going to make it so it's a lot lower. Probably not even worth throwing the talent anymore, which is good. I'm really, really, really happy about that. That was ridiculous. And I said on stream, this is going to get nerfed. I wouldn't worry about it. Next day, boom, it gets nerfed. Like, there's just no way a talent like this stays, so that's good. Phantom Assassin PvP talent increases crit by 10%, down from 35. Wow, okay, so that is a huge nerf. It actually might mean Phantom Assassin isn't even picked anymore. I'm going to have to re-look at PvP talents for Rogue. There might be something that increases value a little bit more than that, but 10% crit for Phantom Assassin is not very much, right? Not very much. It's still good, but I could see maybe another talent being chosen there instead, maybe like Shiv, maybe like Sprint, some of the mobility stuff instead of just 10% crit on your burst windows. Don't know. Phantom Assassin could still be good, but 35 was obviously a lot more. Shadow Strike damage reduced by 10% when engaged in combat with enemy players. Jeez, these sub-rogue nerfs, guys. Oh, man. I think Outlaw was okay. Outlaw nerfs are still down here, so I was gonna say I think Outlaw was really the strongest spec, but Sub and Outlaw definitely performing very well. Shadow Strike damage nerfed by 10% and Abyss damage nerfed by 15%. Whew, whew. Probably necessary. Probably necessary. Those are big numbers though. I was expecting more like 5 to 10% nerfs, but 15 and 10, that's pretty large. All right, that's pretty large for sub rogues, and they're getting their crit reduced as well. Probably good changes though. Let me just put it out there. Sub rogue was highly performing, right? Like their burst was through the roof, their control is through the roof. So I'm happy it got nerfed. I hope it's not too much. All right, I hope it's not too much. And then Rogue Outlaw, Deadshot, effectiveness reduced by 45% when engaged in combat with enemy players. Probably good. Turn the Tables, PvP talent increases damage by 10, down from 15. All right, slight nerf to their damage there. Dispatch damage reduced by 15%. Slight damage nerfs there. Killing Spree reduced by 20% when engaged in combat with enemy players. Probably needed once again. And Between the Eyes, damage reduced by 20% when engaged in combat with enemy players. So just nerf, 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 nerf. Similar to that sub-rogue treatment. Rogues, all right? They were really overperforming. Hopefully this will put them in place. I really hope it doesn't make them too weak. We'll have to see. I would not be surprised if they were still good, right? Because they were that good. So with the nerf, they might still be good. It might just put them online with some other stuff, and we'll have to see. Druid Balance, Streaking Stars trait damage reduced by 50% when in combat with enemy players. All right, I'll take it. So here's all the buffs and the nerfs, guys. Here's all the buffs and the nerfs. My one closing thought with the video is we didn't see any buffs. Right? We didn't see any buffs, and I think that's my biggest problem with these changes. I like a lot of the changes. I really do. A lot of the stuff just boom, fix that, fix that, fix that. Patching here and there. But what I really want to see in upcoming hotfixes is not just nerfing the things that are overperforming, but buffing the things that are underperforming. Because the problem is if you just start nerfing all the things that are good, in 6 months from now, everything feels weak if you just keep nerfing the top dog. And then all of a sudden, every class feels pruned. And every class feels not fun to play, similar to Warlords of Draenor playstyle. I don't want that. A lot of stuff is very fast-paced. It's very fun, because guess what? A lot of stuff's overpowered. The most fun expansions we've seen, people just kept one-shotting each other, like Wrath of the Lich King, Burning Crusade, Mist of Pandaria. A lot of people refer to those three as some of their favorite PvP experiences because the damage was so high and because everything felt OP, even if it wasn't necessarily good in the threes metagame. I want it to feel like that. So to get that, we can't just keep nerfing the things that are on top. We have to start buffing the things that are underperforming. So I hope we see that in the next set of hotfixes, in addition to other good changes, maybe like this or this. So there's the hotfixes, guys. I like to make these videos for you guys so you guys can stay up to date on what's going on in PvP arenas. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. If you did not enjoy the video, make sure to give it a big thumbs down. Talk to me in the comments about what you guys want to see for next time. If you enjoy these type of videos where we keep you up to date on the PvP hotfixes, changes, content, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss another upload. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.